So, Gav, welcome to our first instalment of AT ISO booth.
First instalment.
Yeah, do you like that? ISO
Yeah, I
booth?
like it. So very good. Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
That's good. Very
So, just rather than me kind of trying to be the perfect compare and describe your storied career, maybe you could just, give me a little bit of a potted history of the last, little while and what you've been up to.
last millennium. Yeah. So yeah, I'm originally Australian. Worked for a long time in Australia as a studio and live sound engineer, and ended up moving to London in about 2007, I think it was. So what are we, 13 or so years ago? And yeah, just been sort of continuing on. Haven't been doing as much studio stuff over here, but I'm okay with that. Been doing lots and lots of live stuff, and it's been busy. It's been busy, which has been good. Some high profile clients, and yeah, it took a little while to get it all happening, but it's going well. So,
Yeah, that's good. So where did you kind of your first break? Like, I guess that's an interesting story in itself. Like the ambitious young audio guy, making his fortune, as it were, in the UK. How did you crack that nut?
Actually, I didn't really want to move here. I was with a girl at the time, and she was like, "Oh, you're away so much. Maybe if we move overseas, you'll be home more." And I thought, "Oh, okay, probably not." But there we go, and it kind of ended up being true. And I guess it's the same with everyone in Australia. I mean, I was away. It's similar to what I am here. I was away about 40 weeks a year, which is quite a lot. Anyway, so. When I moved to the UK, I was still working for Eskimo Joe at the time, and I think the day that I landed, John Watson rang me and he said, "Oh, Gav, hey, because I'd known him from other bands, and he said, "Oh, hey, Gav, you're in the UK now," and I went, "Yeah, like literally just landed." He said, "Oh, look, can you get on a plane tomorrow and go to America and start working with Missy?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're kidding me." So I was like, "Yes, I can, no problems." So I ended up doing sort of both Missy and Eskimo Joe on and off for quite a while there.
Yep.
And hence, because of that, I really didn't sort of get immersed into the UK market of engineers. And I got a phone call from a mate of mine he's actually since died, an Australian guy called Andrew Birch, top chap. He was working at a company called Britannia Row, and they're a London-based sound company. And he said, "Oh, hey Gav, we're doing this Powderfinger gig at Hammersmith Apollo. Can you come down and help us out? The monitor rigger has called in sick." And I went, "Oh, okay, no worries." So I ended up going down there and met Brownie, and it ended up, one thing turned into another, and I think Brownie's still working for Eskimo Joe, which is brilliant. Yeah, he's a top man. And and just so because it was still all sort of Australian contacts at that point, and and I guess it kind of then over time getting to know the Britannia Row guys, and and it sort of kind of took off from there.
Sure.
And I think once you do lots of jobs for those kind of guys and don't get too many complaints, and,
sure,
it's sort of all kind of took off.
Yeah,
it's good.
Sure. And what can you describe your most current gig that you've been working on? It's Mark Knopfler, is that my understanding?
Yep. Yeah. So I was doing Mark Knopfler all last year. Technically, the last gig I did was Kylie in Brazil, but so keeping with the Australian theme. I did Mark Knopfler all last year, which was amazing. His monitor guy for about 30 years. Kerry Lewis was going through some chemo or something last year, so it was unavailable. And Kylie's production manager, Kevin Hopgood, I'd done a year with those guys, and he said, "Oh, Gav, come on over, I need a monitor guy." And I was like, "All right then, cool." And being a massive Dire Straits fan, it was I couldn't say no to that one.
So there was a little bit of fanboy itis going on at the very beginning.
Well, I think he comes with a reputation of being like a prickly character, and it kind of he's just unbelievably good. Like I guess he's been on in-ears since like the 90s, you know, so very early.
Right, Garwood days.
Yeah, exactly. Very early adopter, and hence, even though he's just turned 70, he still has ridiculously good hearing, and it is both terrifying and also awesome to work for. Just he's brilliant. Honestly, he's just so good. Yeah.
So what are you what's that forcing you to do, I guess, as a monitor guy? Is it just taking another step up to, you know, bring your AAA game?
I guess so. I think also it's just that, you know, that if anything you do gets noticed, and both good and bad, you know what I mean? So that's a good thing. I think, I mean, I never ever, when I left Australia, no one would have ever thought that I would even touch a monitor console, you know what I mean? But it just happens to be that over here, I just seem to have fallen into it a little bit, you know. I'm still a front of house guy. No one believes me, but I really am a front of house guy, I promise. And it's that classic thing, isn't it? I mean, you know, Colin Ellis was a monitor guy, and he became a front of house guy. I think I need to go the other way around, you know. So I'm going to go back to doing front of house. Yeah. So it's just he's just like his sense of tone, volume, pitch, and harmony is the best of anyone I've ever worked with. It's ridiculously good. Like, I mean, he can't say, "Oh, can you take out, you know, 550 hertz or something?" He just say, "Oh, that's not quite right." But when you get it right, he knows.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
So yeah.
Do you while we're just discussing Mark Knopfler, do you want to just run us through, I guess, your workplace? You know, what gear you're using and what he's preferred over the years, and I guess sort of what you've brought to the gig and all that.
Cool. So basically, by the time I came on board, the whole thing was already spec'd, because Kerry was going to be doing the gig, and I thought, look, I'll just keep it exactly the same. The only thing is, I've had so many problems with Digico consoles that I'm going to swap it out for my preferred console, which is the SSL. So I did that, and so it was an SSL L500 with I think we had a total of 5 of the 5 32-way stage boxes, so lots of ins and outs. I think I had like 30 channels of radio, of which there was like 22 channels of in-ears, so 20 something sends of ears, and you know, about 10 or so, you know, radio channels. And I did radio on the tour as well. Ben Byford, we worked as a team, the two of us. So yeah, it was brilliant. And it was all Shure PSM 1000s with the new Plus mix, and I have to say that was pretty impressive. I think that the saxophone player is an Australian guy. He's actually, I have the studio that I had in London for such a long time was actually with him, and this is the first time we ever got to do gigs together, which is kind of a bit of a weird thing. He rang me up in like the October of like 2018, and he's like, "Oh, hey Gav, I've got this gig with Mark Knopfler." I'm like, "Oh, that's amazing. You can't tell anyone." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I send him all the, like, you know, the links to all the live, you know, Alchemy records. Hey, you should check this out, check that out, you know. And then as it turns out, I rang him in about February and I went, "You're not going to believe this, but we're going to be doing some work together." "What, this year?" So yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I can't remember what I was going to say there, but yeah, basically with the it was all Shure stuff. Yep. Really, really good. He's saying that, like, that during the tour, which we did 86 shows and about 2 or 3 weeks worth of rehearsals, he had one hit on the radio. So I mean, that's, from what I understand, that's quite a good thing.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, and he was, you know, he's all over the stage. The rest of the guys, you know, they're old boys, they just stand still.
Yep.
But, you know, by being the sax player and being younger, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
There he was, you know, moving around. So, yeah. So so that's kind of it. And the vocal mic was a now discontinued Audio Technica mic.
Okay.
And that wasn't my choice, but I have to say, the front of house guy, who's very, very good, Dave Dixon, he put me onto that, or put us onto that, and he said, "Oh, you should have a listen to this." To me it sounded brilliant. He said, "And have a listen to this. This DPA wants to try this de facto out." I went, "Oh yeah. Or is it Devote or de facto, whatever their vocal mic is?"
Yep.
And always up for trying stuff. And honestly, the AT just ate it. It was ridiculous. I think it's called a 5035. It looked like it was so good. I got on eBay and I bought one because they were we only had 2 or 3 of them, and as it turned out, we used that one mic the entire tour.
Right. So that's the head on a Shure transmitter, or is it a wide mic?
All wide. I think the only wireless mics were sax, the trumpet, like a couple of headset mics, or one headset mic for Ben. There wasn't very much. It really wasn't. We had like 6 or so channels of transmit, but like 20 something channels of. 6 channels of receive, but about 20 something channels of transmit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm fascinated by that mic. I wonder what it is. I'll just Google it.
I've got one here.
I do. Okay, I'll let you get it.
It's so good I had to buy one. It is right here. It is a. Funnily enough, I found one secondhand on eBay, and it was one of the guys from SSE who was the sound supplier around me, and he said, "Hey, have you just bought a mic on eBay?" And I went, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, I was the seller." And so they just sent it out the next time they sent some gear. And so it's a 4055.
Okay, right.
I don't know if that's going to focus. 4050.
Oh yeah.
So that. So just
yeah.
I should turn that blurring thing off, but it's just really it's just a standard. But honestly, it sounded, really, really good, really good.
And the thing is, I guess Mark would have as much of an opinion about vocal mics as you and front of house, so he would.
What? I think he just said to me, "Hey, make it sound like my expensive German mics in my studio." But you probably know he's got like quite the studio in British Grove, and for however long he's only ever used particularly high quality stuff. So he just said, "Hey, just make it sound expensive in German." And I went, "Okay, from a handheld vocal mic, I'll give it a shot." he said, "What did you do? Did you just that sounds good now." Okay, what'd you do? Just sprinkle some magic dust on it or something? And I'm like, what? So yeah, he's a good lad. He's got a good sense of humour. So,
yeah. Okay. So 4055.
Yeah.
Handheld code. Yeah, that says the A5400 is a similar model, but you're right, it's discontinued. There you go. And not a hugely expensive mic either. But,
I don't know what it cost new, but second hand it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I'd highly recommend trying it out. We were all in ears. We had they had that acoustics Lisa system, so like the immersive thing. I called it Mona Lisa because everyone who seemed to work on it had a bit of a Mona.
Dot.
Well, it's French, it has all the things, It's like, the sound follows you like the eyes follow you, and that kind of thing. There's so many ways, so many things. Anyway, Mona Lisa.
Yeah. Just on that, I guess just jump around, but does that going with immersive like that, has it any impact at all on monitors?
So, Mark, as well as having ridiculously good ears, absolutely, like a lot of the old boys, hates low end. To the point where most bands you work with would be like, "Oh yeah, cool, it's a bit low end on stage." The front of house was particularly they worked really hard on keeping the low end off the stage, where they would have end fire, like vertical end fire, to kind of like to keep the low end off the center vocal position. It was really, really good. Like they did an amazing job. So yes, I didn't really know what to expect standing behind. Basically, what was there? I think it was seven, just of, I think seven or nine hangs of, PA, and it wasn't. I think it was all K2. It was 5 K2 hangs and two Cara hangs plus some out. So that K2 does have a lot of low end off the back of it. I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it was really pretty good. Really pretty good. If you were trying to do I think it's good. I don't see anything. I tried to get in contact with Ray, who does Lord, because I know him through the Dropkick Murphys, but I didn't end up happening. So I was kind of wanted to know exactly the same question, but I can tell you that I didn't find a problem with it. I don't know how many people are going to take it out for logistic and cost reasons.
Sure.
But apparently it's very, very good. Like all these things, right? I mean, I did David Gilmour for 2 years and never heard it out front. So, how did it sound? I have no idea. Sorry. But in rehearsals for Mark Knopfler, at production rehearsals, I walked out the front and they were doing a virtual sound check, and the only instrument I ever heard through it was just the saxophone. where he would have been at that point, it sounded like he was there. He is coming from, the sound is coming from that spot. It was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. It wasn't, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, I get this now.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be mad on the panning or anything like that, but I think what Dave tried to do was make it as real but just louder as possible, that's what we're all trying to do, right? But this is just next level. And he said, he was basically saying, yeah, man, this thing is it's a little tricky and whatever, a bit convoluted. It's not you're just not going to walk in and make it happen. But given some time, thought, and whatever, I think he said, yeah, man, everyone's going to want to do this going forward. It's it's really good. And all the reports were that it did sound fantastic. So
that's good. That's good. So how'd you get onto the SSL console?
So Brit Rowe bought. They did Peter Gabriel's sound reinforcement. He at the time owned SSL, and so suddenly it was like, sorry, there's some funky noise outside.
Oh, okay. Do you need to get your gun or anything?
No, don't think so. I think I'm alright. Don't know if the zombie world or not.
The looters.
Right. Yeah, a proper lock in here. Sorry.
Yeah, so Peter Gabriel.
Peter Gabriel owned SSL at the time, and they basically didn't give the engineers a choice. Dickie, who's his guy, would have gone for it no problems at all, because they've got, he's basically a studio engineer. And Ben Finley, who was doing sound for him, would have gone for it as well. Also, another real world guy, and Dean Miller, who's he's a champion chap. They I think at one point with Peter they had tried a Midas XL8 and it crashed, and they went back to a PM5D, which was sort of home base for D, and then it was like, okay, we're going to do this. And so because of that, Brit Rowe bought some of the first ones. Ended up doing WOMAD Festival in a sort of like in a surround environment with that a couple of times, and then Mike Lowe, who's one of the Brit Rowe directors, put me up with the Gilmour thing, and he said, "Oh, what console do you want?" And I said, "Well, I always have trouble with the Digicos, so let's try this SSL." So first day driving monitors, I've got David Gilmour standing in front of me, so that was pretty ballsy, but I got away with it. So, yeah. Yeah.
So the workflow is a little bit different, or it's just there's a little bit more kind of roll your own with the SSL, isn't there? Or
Sure.
the way you want to work.
I think all consoles are very, very similar. You know, that they all do, you know, sound in, sound out. The thing about this one, there's a couple of things that I've found that are really good. Firstly, the transient response in the console, not the latency, which is also ridiculously fast. The actual front edge of the waveform it's until you've heard it, you don't realise what is missing in other consoles. If it makes sense, it's just really quick. It's whoosh, you know, and not quick in a bad way, but quick in a like, oh, okay, it just sounds more real. That through, you know, that console, you know, through wedges is wow. It's next level. So there's that. For me, it's been really reliable. I know next time I go out, it'll probably break me, but you know, it's been super, super reliable. Their support is it is unbelievable. I found a bug in the console during NOT, and they had a workaround for me in like an hour, and it was like a basically don't try and run 16 of the same reverb at once. So
all right, pro tip.
Yeah. You know, we're all creatures of habit. We all like the same reverb. You know, just don't do it 16 times. Okay. So they found that. You know, they found that. And the thing that it exhibited was as I was changing mixes, the keyboard player said, "Oh, I can hear every time you hit that yellow button, the solo button." I'm like,
"Oh, wow."
I was like, "No, you can't." And so then I had to listen to his pack, and I went, "Oh yeah, I can." So I sent the session file off to SSL, and actually, as it turns out, it was actually going to everyone's mix. But they found it with like really, really quick, and that's in comparison to other companies who either A, you can't contact, B, I'm still waiting since Hans Zimmer for a response from Digico as to why the console would push, you know, random faders in random mixes to +10. You know, I sent videos, I sent them before and after show files. You know, that was a couple of hundred channels and 20-something musicians I was looking after. It's not a small thing, but at the same time, it's also not a small thing to have 22 guys go, "What's that?" That ain't good.
That's.
Anyway, so that's another thing. It's been extremely reliable, good support. There is a few little workflow changes. Specifically, one of them is stem groups, and probably the easiest way to explain that would be that they are ordinarily when we talk about the signal flow of a console, we go channels to auxiliaries, you know, onto masters, you know, or outputs and, you know, whatever. If you're talking, you know, front of house wise, you know, channels to groups or channels to auxes, you know, onto the master and then out to the matrix. The stems sit in between the channels and the auxes, so effectively subgroups or submixes. They're not just groups; they're variable groups. So you can create, you know, submixes of things. Really handy for doing things like orchestral submixes. If you're, you know, we do lots of these shows where you turn up where a band has been out on tour for ages, and they're, oh geez, wouldn't it be great to do a gig with an orchestra? Oh yeah, that'd be
fantastic.
Awesome.
Let me at it.
So, so funny that the amount of times I've done that where at the start of the band they go, "Oh, we've got to be able to hear the orchestra. It's going to be amazing." And the orchestra go, "Oh, we've got to be able to hear the band." And you go, yeah, whatever, and give it like 20 minutes, and they're both like, "Yeah, can you turn the band off? Like, can you turn the orchestra off? I just don't want to hear them anymore." And it's just two disparate things playing at once. Anyway, so stem groups are really good for doing things like submixes. So if you wanted, say you were the guy doing the orchestral submix, and monitor says, "Hey man, I just want the full orchestra because I don't have time," or the, you know, I just give me the left right. Cool. You make the left right. But if you wanted to do things like chop it up for broadcast, so as they had, like, you know, first violins, second violins, violas, cellos, you know, and all the separate parts of the, you know, of the winds and brass and whatever. you can make stem groups for all those, and send them out, and then using those same and then say front of houses. Look, I would like I'd like strings, brass, percussion, whatever. The one thing that these have is that these auxes can send back to themselves. So it's a shame. I've got some good slides that show how this works, but it's hard to kind of explain it over the phone. But if you think about it in the fact that you create a stem of, say, the first violins, second violins, violas, cellos, basses, and then you could then feed that at the same level into a subgroup or a stem of strings.
Yes.
And so you got all the sections, and then everything you mix up into that.
Yes.
So the faders is all, if you do a post fade, it all happens there, and it's just a neat way of grouping things. So that's kind of like the theoretical way of doing it, but actually it's really useful for, in, say, someone like myself in monitors. I found that was really useful for doing things like with Kylie, where she has like 6 vocal mics, and I have all the channels and effectively send them to a post fade subgroup, which at that point, that has all the processing done, the EQ, the compression, whatever happens at that point, and these just literally turn on and off. But if I need to, they can also be EQ'd separately. Say I've got a fault with one mic one day, it can be, it could be, more top end out of there or something. And it's a really handy way that no one gets the individual mics. They get just the stem to their mix, if that makes sense. So I found that to be a really, so it's a really handy thing. And I'm talking, what it means is that when you do automation, if you want to do things like, backing singer says to you after the first rehearsal, she's singing a lot louder today, can you turn it down for me? Yeah, no problems at all. It's one fader move. It's one fader move rather than, I'll pull it down by 6 dB across and then, oh no, it's too quiet now. Back again, So it's just a really quick way of doing things. And that happens all the time. And so stem groups are super cool. It's got. Sorry, I'll just bang on about this for a little bit longer.
No, that's good. No, go with it.
It's also got some really, really, really good automation functions, specifically that some of the other consoles have this. The Avid has it, Digico has it. Lots of other consoles have this, but none of them have the dedicated key for it. So for exactly that situation I was talking about before, hey, today, the low end of the PA is coming back on stage. Keyboard player says, hey man, can you turn the bass down? And you can relatively change through either all the scenes or a group of scenes or however you want to do it, levels or anything, to be honest. Anything that can be automatable can be done either absolute, which is a very common thing, but also relatively. And you just go into group mode, make the change and store, and it's done. And until you've experienced that, it's just one of those things that I can't live without anymore.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you take much stock in, having your favorite little signature processor that you've got to have, and your favorite little this and your favorite that, and you've got to have your third-party DSP box to run, an emulation of Yuri this, your Pultec that, or what's your view on all that?
I run absolutely everything in the box. Nothing connected, so that if anything fails, the only thing I have to swap out is the console. Right. Yep. And have seen other people go through just trying to set waves up in Brazil the other day. Like, all front of house guys spent, I don't know what time we got there. We got there at 1 o'clock on the 1 p.m. and we left at 10 o'clock in the evening. He still didn't have his waves going. Came back at 7 o'clock in the morning. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I think they had it up and going. So I'm talking, more than 24 hours, I suppose, with some sleep in between, just to get the waves up and going. No thanks. I dearly would love to use the Universal Audio stuff. It's great. It's actually one set of plugins I don't own in the studio, but yeah, it is really, really good. I remember when it first came out, I went to Soundcraft because my mate Dom was the product manager for Soundcraft at the time, and we had a bit of a look at it. It's like, oh yeah, man, you're on to the winner here. And they're no longer linked to it. Universal Audio have taken it back, but it's
I didn't hear that. That's that's a bit of a bad news for the VI series.
Yeah, I think it'll still work and still be integrated and all that kind of stuff. But I think they've now gone to a Thunderbolt 3 interface, and yeah, check it out. I think it's whatever it is, UA Live or whatever it's called is used to be called Real Time Rack. I think it's now called UA Live. They've changed it up a bit, and I think UA have now taken that back as one of their own products rather than being OEM'd out to Soundcraft. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So to your question, I try and do everything as much as I can on every console as stock as I can do it. Only for the fact that having been one of those guys and having also had to set things up for people where if, oh man, I haven't got my waves, I can't make it happen. Well, actually, all you're doing is this, and if you know how to do that without using waves, and I get it, it's totally cool. I also come from a perspective of having mixed front of house sound for such a long time that my friend Casey, who's one of the greatest backline men ever, describes it as when people go from wedges to ears, they become ear whisperers, which is that they go from there to like. Totally changes the way that the artist sings. Having been on the other end of that when that happens, it's like, oh man, I would not wish this upon anyone. So for me, whilst I'm probably fairly technical, actually try and keep the signal flow fairly unaltered for a couple of reasons. Firstly, so that they're actually using very much compression on stage. In fact, on Knopfler there was not one compressor engaged.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, what it is it doesn't. As soon as you change the dynamic, then on stage, and if that's what people are used to hearing, then out front, you have to do it twice as much, and then your game feedback goes, and it's like, well,
yeah, I see.
There's no.
You can't have them responding to that compression in their performance, as it were. Yeah.
That's right. Yes, that's right. So, so I try and keep it as fairly simple as possible, which, it's not quite like that on other gigs, but certainly on that one it was. And so there's that, and Also, if you're like, I've had the luxury of working with some pretty damn good musicians, and if you turn up as a session guy and the monitor guy starts changing your sound in a really way that you haven't either A, asked for, or B, didn't anticipate, then the bigger picture is that session player's reputation can be affected. So, you know what I mean? Like, oh hey, insert random musician here. I've just taken all this top end off your guitar, and it turns around and says, gee, your guitar's a bit dull this time. Can you turn it up? He goes, well, I haven't changed a thing.
Yeah.
So, it's that.
Yeah.
You just
messing with his vibes, and exactly. That's what he's trading off.
Yeah, and it's not just the main guy, but it's also all the session guys. Who I'm happy to do anything that anyone asks, no problems at all. But I'm not going to be that guy that's going to go in and change some very, very respected musicians' sounds.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, there'll be a discussion. Hey, are you okay if I do this? But I'm not just going to go. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. Hey,
I've been doing.
Just to, I'm sort of aware that this being our first ISO booth, sure. I wouldn't mind covering off a few sort of things that are more pertinent to the here and now. Like, what has the lockdown meant for you, apart from the obvious, like, you can't go and work, but like, what has it meant for you? What have you been thinking about? Maybe a few personal reflections as well as a few sort of professional ones.
Yes, so I'm not quite sure what the situation is in Australia, but the situation here as of we're at Wednesday, and as of I think Monday. It's early morning Wednesday. As of about 28 hours ago, we here in the UK have been advised not to go out basically at all. It is a lockdown, as you say. No social gatherings of more than 2 people. And it can be enforced by the police. No, you don't. No one to go to work unless it's absolutely essential. So that's the situation. And to be honest, I haven't done much since a couple of weeks ago. And I don't mean work-wise. I mean like anything-wise. Since Brazil. For me, I'm kind of. I mean, I spent so much time away these last 4 or 5 years that I'm quite happy just to actually be at home for a little while. It's a novel concept, you know. So for myself, I've been out in my little back room trying to actually get a surround sound system happening. So I've always wanted to dabble more at home in 5.1, and so. Finally today, actually after a bit of delay, all my speakers arrived, which is good.
That's awesome. What did you end up with?
Well, do you know what? I bought. You're not going to believe this. I sold my expensive JBL LSR speakers, which were THX approved, all that kind of stuff, and actually bought the cheapest in that range because they sounded the best to me in a shootout. And I was like, can't believe it. Better than Adams, better than Jim. So I was like, you know what, whatever, man.
There's
a shop in Germany that, and I'm sure there's lots of them in Australia. So I'm sure that Audio Chocolate and all those guys. I'm sure they're going to have, all the setup of speakers. Anyway, I went. I just went beyond there on tour, and I went. I couldn't believe they were like less than €100 a box. So a little 5-inch LSR 305s they were.
Sure.
And so anyway, I've had a stereo set of them for ages.
Yep.
And I run speaker management on them anyway. I use that. I use something similar to Sonar Works, which is that IK Multimedia ARC, and which. So kind of in a way, I wouldn't say that you can get away with anything, but these sound
pretty darn
good. These sound as good. Yeah, man. Like, and I have spent like the last however long trying to, as a professional sound engineer, trying to tune PA systems. I can't get them to sound as good as this, by ear. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Anyway. That aside, so so I've been trying to. So they arrived today, and now it's just sort of building shelving, and I've got a couple of 3D printers and a CNC machine. So I've been trying to come up with a clever way of doing that. I made myself these, which are like it's a 35-degree angle.
Yes.
So as I can put that against like the side of the speaker box and get an exact 35-degree. I could have cut it out of paper, but it wasn't going to be as good.
You got the printer, you may as well do it properly.
Yeah. Only took an hour to print 2 of them, so I thought, well, I can get it right. So anyway, there you go.
That's awesome.
3D.
That's some next level geekery that I was hoping to hear from you, Gav. So, what are you going to be using your CNC machine for when you're when you're time rich?
So I've been building stuff. I am okay. So here's the deal. My dad is possibly the best person at building things with limited resources of anyone that I know. He's unbelievable, and I think it skips a generation. Okay. Like if you gave me a handsaw, I would just like if you want a straight line, I'd be like, honestly, I'm terrible at it. However, being able to draw a little bit in CAD and being able to export to CNC or to 3D printing, actually that's opened up a whole stack of opportunities for someone as unskilled as myself. And And yeah, wow. I tell you what have I done? Actually, I should. So Kylie has got like some. So I'll just quickly show you.
Great.
She uses these Sennheiser 5200 mic clips.
Yep.
And she's got like gold mic stands, silver mic
Sure.
stands, whatever.
Yep. Glow mesh, lame.
Wouldn't it be nice to print some 3D? So I printed these out of like sort of like a flexible material.
Right.
So yeah. So they
So is that sort of metallic look? What?
Yeah, I've just sprayed it.
Yeah.
It's red underneath,
Yep.
but I've sprayed it.
Yeah.
And I print them with 5/8 thread and then use a 3/8 thread adapter in it. So because over here they don't use 5/8 27 pitch, they use 3/8 Whitworth.
Yep.
As thread. So actually
Sure.
the first one you had that in it. But you can print threads. You can do whatever. That's a gold one for a golden tour. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
long story
lovely.
short, so I do crazy stuff like that.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
Have you found the boot up discs for your old Mac?
Have I found the boot up discs for my old Mac? Was I looking for them? I can't remember.
Well, I can see you're blurred out, but clearly that's an old Mac back there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Old Mac. Yeah. Hang on. Here we go. I'll have to unblur this for a second. Here we
Oh,
go.
hello.
Yeah. So this is actually. Should we do an old Mac running Reaper? What do you think? I
Yeah.
think we should go running Reaper. There we go. So yeah, I have. I didn't need to find the discs, but yeah, I've modified it for a modern machine.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you know? Rick asking for an update. Yeah, there you go. That's actually. So actually, I got a bit bored one year, and
During the last pandemic.
yes, I was during the last rehearsal period, I think,
Okay.
and so I thought I found an old Mac on eBay for like £50, and it said, "Oh, it didn't work." And I thought, "Oh, this is perfect. I'll just have one of these, and I'll turn my Mac Mini into this with a screen and that kind of thing."
Awesome.
And it turned up and it worked, and I was like, "Oh man, I can't do this."
It's a moral dilemma.
Right, I can't just. It took about 10 minutes, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, I have to take it apart." So, and I literally kept. I desoldered. I desoldered all the boards, kept all the parts. So I thought, just in case someone ever asks for it. So that only lasted about a year in storage. I had to get rid of that. But it's a massive capacitor. So I was like, "Wow, this is cool." Anyway, the trickiest thing, and if you are going to do this
At home.
really, you do have to make sure that you discharge the CRT.
Right. Okay. What happened? What was your experience, Gav?
With the CRT?
Yeah.
No. I knew about that.
Okay,
I was cool.
cool, right.
I was paranoid. I took
Yeah.
it into Britannia Road to Jerry Wing, who's like the uber geek in there, and he was like, "Oh no, this is fine." And he's getting it, he's earthing it. And, I mean, he used to work in a nuclear test facility, so I'm pretty sure the cathode ray tube ain't going to really scare him. So yeah. So that's my little thing. And I actually have turned up to hide Kylie. I had it in rehearsals, and she's like, "Oh, look at that! That's like what I had at school." And I'm like, "Yep, same here." And then we turned up to Hyde Park as did like a end of the proms at Hyde Park, massive gig, and there's me set up, Lenny Kravitz is set up around us, all these other bands, and there's me with my Mac, this 80s Mac sitting on the dog box of the well, actually it was on a man front of arm, but sitting on there, and I'm like, who is this nutter?
That's really funny.
I didn't draw this one, but I did print this. This is quite cool. This is
Okay.
This is like a Maui head thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually like a headphone, like a little headphone holder.
Oh,
thing.
that's cool.
Yeah.
In a slightly sort of inappropriate, culturally misappropriated way, but I love it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's printed in 4 parts,
Right.
in all different colors, and I've sort of just sprayed it with this kind of what's it called, like a stone finish kind of thing.
Yeah, that's very creative.
Needed a headphone hanger. So
Yeah,
there you go.
that's really good. Hey, any more show and tell before we wind up? I'm really interested in your tinkering. But
Yeah. So what I have done is I have So when I say CNC machine, I actually bought this thing. I can probably send you a link to it. It's called a Shaper Origin, and it's like the remember that drink Clayton's? It's like the CNC without having a CNC.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's no one gets it over here. No one gets it over here.
Yeah, it's an Aussie thing. It's weird, isn't it? Clayton's is also Australian.
Yeah. Because I've heard another band back in the day. It was when you're doing monitors. It was the air, the air. Can I have more? Oh yeah, the air knob or the Clayton's knob to call it. That's the giving more gain when you never got more gain. So anyway, so this thing is it is a CNC machine, but it's actually a it looks more like a router. You move it around, and basically you follow the drawing, and you pull off it. It's got like a gimbal in it where it kind of moves the router.
Yep.
I'll send you a link. It's quite happening, and I've been interested in it for ages. Wanted to buy one when I was in America, and they said don't buy one. We're going to release it in Europe coming up, and I think you bought the first one in Europe. So
oh wow, okay. Serial number 00001 for Europe at least.
And exactly. I mean, I don't know about people in Australia, but certainly over here, a lot of the sound companies have like a manufacturing arm, and they've all got CNC machines and that kind of thing. And so for me, this is just to be able to prototype bits and pieces at home. We make some cool shelves and that kind of thing for consoles where they kind of all fold up and so probably try and go into. I'll make, as Dougal says, I'll make tens of dollars out of it. Yeah. But it's very, very difficult to sell things to audio engineers. It's certainly here and made in Australia as well. But over here, kind of feel a bit entitled. Oh no, I work for the band. I should get things for free. Not as an endorsement, but it's like, well, why would I buy anything?
Sure.
It's like, well, maybe you're right, but
but who doesn't want to have their job that little bit easier, for tens of dollars.
Totally, exactly. Yeah, come and see me. Yeah. So I've done these cool little, I don't have any here, actually, they're all in storage, but yeah, I've made SSL shelves and made some SD7 ones, and I've got my S6L ones ready to go, so
cool. Yeah, great. And so what does the shelf actually do? Can you paint a verbal picture?
Yeah, so basically all the tops of consoles, whilst you have a dog box and you can open up the dog box, if you put anything on the dog box, you then can't open the dog box, therefore you can't actually fix any problems. So my intention was just to move everything off the dog box and put it on a set of shelves that was done to the profile of the console.
Sure.
And it's worked out really, really well.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. So the only way you're going to sell them really is that other people look at your setup and go, "That's neat. Where do I get one of those?" Which
happens quite a bit. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Hey, I think we'll wind up, but not because we've run out of things to say, but just because we've gone for 48 minutes. So I think we should be a little circumspect as to what people can handle on their first installment of ISO Booth.
I'm sorry that I'm the first guy. I'm really sorry. You'll
Don't
probably get no.
What are you talking about?
What
are you talking about?
The UK just talked to Christopher an hour.
It was awesome. That's good. I really appreciate your time, and I wish you and yours all the best. And hope we all come out the other side with a new skill and hopefully a slightly different but slightly better world.
Yeah, that's very wise words, my man. Very wise. Yeah, good to see you. I don't think I've seen you in a long time.
No, it's been way too long. But, it's been great to catch up and hopefully talk again soon.
Okay.
See you, mate.
Cheers, boss.
Okay, bye.
See you, mate. Bye.